On Christmas, my son sent me a bottle of wine. I handed it to his father-in-law instead. 3 hours later, Harold was fighting for his life in the ICU, and I realized my son had tried to kill me. My name is Richard Stevens. I'm 72 years old. And what I'm about to tell you will show you how sometimes the people who want you dead are sitting at your own Christmas dinner table. It was December 23rd when the package arrived. No return address. Just my name written in Marcus's handwriting. Handwriting I'd seen on birthday cards and school reports for 38 years. Inside was a bottle of 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon, the expensive kind with the heavy glass and gold foil. The card read, "Dad, Merry Christmas. Thought you might enjoy this with dinner tomorrow. Marcus and Jessica." I stared at that bottle for a long time. Marcus knew I hadn't touched alcohol in 2 years, not since my heart attack. Dr. Patterson had been very clear. "Richard, with your new medication, even one glass of wine could kill you." Marcus had been right there in the hospital room when the doctor said those words. He'd nodded seriously and promised to help me stick to my new lifestyle. So why send wine now? I set the bottle on my kitchen counter and tried to push away the uneasy feeling in my stomach. Maybe he forgot. Maybe Jessica picked it out and didn't know about my condition. The next morning, Christmas Eve, I drove to Harold Morrison's house. Harold is Marcus's father-in-law, a good man who'd been recently widowed. He'd helped me fix my roof last spring and never asked for anything in return. Harold lived alone now in a house that felt too big, just like mine. I thought he might appreciate the wine more than I could, and it seemed wrong to let such an expensive bottle go to waste. "Richard." Harold opened the door with a genuine smile. "Merry Christmas. Come in, come in." "Merry Christmas, Harold. I brought you something." I handed him the wine. His eyes lit up. "This is beautiful, Richard. Are you sure? Marcus sent it to me, but you know I can't drink anymore. Figured you'd get more use out of it." "That's very thoughtful. I haven't had a good bottle of wine since Martha passed. I might open this tonight with dinner." "You should. Life's too short not to enjoy the good stuff." I left Harold's house feeling good about my decision. He deserved something nice, and the wine would go to someone who could actually appreciate it. Christmas Day arrived gray and cold. Marcus and Jessica came for dinner at 2 p.m., bringing their twin boys ages 10. The kids ran straight to the tree, excited about presents, while Jessica kissed my cheek with her usual fake warmth. "Dad, you look great," Marcus said, hugging me briefly. "How are you feeling?" "Can't complain, still here." That's what matters. We sat down to Christmas dinner: turkey, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. Jessica complimented the food while scrolling through her phone. Marcus seemed distracted, checking his watch repeatedly. "Everything okay, son?" I asked. "Yeah, just busy time of year, you know?" Around 4 p.m., Marcus's phone rang. "Sorry. I need to take this," he said, stepping into the hallway. I could hear his voice, low and urgent, but couldn't make out the words. When he returned, his face was pale. "Who was that?" Jessica asked. "Work," Marcus said quickly. "Dad, I hate to ask, but did you try that wine I sent you?" The question came out of nowhere, cutting through the normal Christmas conversation like a knife. "The wine? No, I told you I can't drink anymore." Right. But did you? I mean, what happened to it?" Jessica was staring at Marcus now, her fork frozen halfway to her mouth. "I gave it to Harold. Figured he'd enjoy it more than I would." The color completely drained from Marcus's face. "You gave it to Harold?" "Your father-in-law, yes. Why?" Marcus and Jessica exchanged a look, quick, but I caught it. Fear, panic. "When?" Jessica asked, her voice tight. "Yesterday, Christmas Eve. He said he might open it with dinner." Marcus stood up abruptly. "I need to make a phone call." He disappeared into the kitchen. I could hear him dialing frantically, his voice getting more agitated. "Marcus, get back in here," Jessica called, but her voice was shaking. The twins kept playing with their new toys, oblivious to the tension that had suddenly filled the room. "Jessica, is everything all right?" I asked. "Everything's fine," she said, but she was gripping her wine glass so tightly her knuckles were white. Marcus came back, his face ashen. "Harold's not answering his phone. Maybe he's napping," I said. "It's Christmas Day." "No, Dad, you don't understand." "Marcus, shut up," Jessica hissed. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. At 6 p.m., just as Marcus and Jessica were packing up to leave, my phone rang. "Mr. Stevens, this is Dr. Chen from St. Mary's Hospital. Harold Morrison is in our ICU. He's listed you as an emergency contact." "Harold's in the ICU?" I gripped the phone tighter. "What happened?" "He was brought in 3 hours ago. Severe poisoning. His neighbor found him collapsed on his kitchen floor." The room went silent. Marcus and Jessica stood frozen by the door, their faces white as sheets. "Poisoning?" I repeated. "What kind of poisoning?" "We're still running tests, but it appears to be some kind of toxic substance. Mr. Stevens, we need you to get here as soon as possible." I hung up and looked at my son and daughter-in-law. They were staring at me with expressions I'd never seen before. Not concern, not surprise, terror. "Harold's in the hospital," I said slowly. "They think he was poisoned." Marcus's hands were shaking. "Poisoned? That's terrible. The doctor said he collapsed 3 hours ago." I checked my watch. That would be around 3 p.m., right when we were sitting down to dinner. "Dad, we should go to the hospital," Jessica said quickly. "Harold's family." "You're right. Let me get my keys." The drive to St. Mary's Hospital was the longest 20 minutes of my life. Marcus and Jessica followed in their car with the twins. I kept thinking about Harold opening that bottle of wine, pouring himself a glass, maybe toasting Martha's memory. The same wine that was supposed to be for me. At the hospital, Dr. Chen met us in the waiting room. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a serious expression. "Mr. Stevens, I'm Dr. Chen. Harold is stable, but barely. Whatever he ingested was extremely toxic. Do you know what it was? We found traces of antifreeze in his system, ethylene glycol. It's tasteless and odorless, which makes it particularly dangerous." My blood turned to ice. Antifreeze? Someone mixed it into something he drank. His neighbor said she found an empty wine bottle on his kitchen counter. I felt the floor shift beneath me. Behind me, I heard Jessica make a small choking sound. "The wine bottle," I whispered. "Do you know something about it?" I turned to look at Marcus. He was staring at the floor, his face pale and sweaty. "The wine was a Christmas gift," I said carefully. "From my son." Dr. Chen's expression sharpened. "Your son gave Harold the wine?" "No. My son gave it to me. I gave it to Harold because I can't drink alcohol due to my heart medication." "I see." Dr. Chen looked at Marcus, who still wouldn't meet her eyes. "Mr. Stevens, we'll need to test that bottle for fingerprints and analyze any remaining contents." "Of course." "There's something else," Dr. Chen continued. "Harold's neighbor said he called someone around 2 p.m., very upset. She heard him through the walls saying something about Richard needs to know, and this was meant for him." The waiting room went dead silent. "Harold said the poison was meant for me?" "That's what the neighbor reported. Mr. Stevens, I think you need to call the police." I looked at Marcus again. He was trembling now, his hands clenched into fists. "Marcus," I said quietly, "did you know the wine was poisoned?" "Dad, Answer me." Jessica grabbed Marcus's arm. "Don't say anything. We need a lawyer." Those 5 words hit me like a physical blow. "We need a lawyer." "You knew," I said, staring at my son. "You both knew." "Mr. Stevens," Dr. Chen interrupted, "I'm going to call security." This conversation needs to happen with police present." "No," Marcus said suddenly. "No, wait." He looked at me with tears in his eyes, and for a moment I saw the little boy who used to climb into my lap when he had nightmares. "Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You tried to kill me." "It wasn't supposed to happen like this." Jessica hissed at him to shut up, but Marcus kept talking. "We're in debt, Dad. Serious debt. The house, the credit cards, the kids' school. We're losing everything. So you decided to murder me for my inheritance? It was Jessica's idea." "Marcus," Jessica screamed. "She said it would look like a heart attack. She said with your medication, no one would question it." I sank into a waiting room chair, my legs unable to hold me up. My own son and daughter-in-law had tried to poison me, and Harold, sweet, innocent Harold, was fighting for his life because of it. Dr. Chen was already on her phone with the police. "Dad," Marcus said, reaching toward me. "Please, let me explain." "Don't touch me," I said coldly. "You're not my son anymore." Security arrived within minutes, followed by 2 detectives. As they led Marcus and Jessica away in handcuffs, Marcus looked back at me one last time. "Dad, I love you. You have to believe me." But love doesn't try to kill you with a bottle of Christmas wine, and this nightmare was just beginning. The next morning, Detective Sarah Martinez called me at 7 a.m. "Mr. Stevens, we need you to come to the station. We found some things in your son's house that you need to see." "What kind of things?" "Evidence that this wasn't their first attempt." I drove to the police station with my hands shaking. Detective Martinez met me in a small interview room with files spread across the table. "Richard, I'm going to be direct with you. We executed a search warrant on Marcus and Jessica's house last night. What we found is disturbing." She opened the first file. Inside were photographs of receipts, handwritten notes, and internet search histories. 3 weeks ago, Jessica purchased antifreeze from AutoZone. She paid cash. She showed me the receipt with Jessica's signature. 2 weeks ago, Marcus Googled, "How long does ethylene glycol take to work?" and "symptoms of heart attack versus poisoning." My stomach turned. They were planning this for weeks. There's more. We found a life insurance policy on you that Marcus took out 6 months ago. $2 million. $2 million? I never signed any life insurance policy. Detective Martinez pulled out another document. "Your signature was forged. We compared it to known samples. Marcus has been practicing your signature for months." She showed me pages of practice signatures in Marcus's handwriting, my name written over and over, getting more accurate each time. They weren't just planning to kill you for your will inheritance. They were planning to collect $2 million in life insurance. How is that possible? Don't insurance companies investigate? Not if the death appears natural. A 72-year-old man with heart problems dying suddenly at Christmas? With your medication interactions, it would have looked completely normal. I felt sick. The scope of their betrayal was beyond anything I could have imagined. "Detective, there's something else," I said. "Harold mentioned he called someone before he collapsed. Did you find out who?" "Yes. He called your son at 2:17 p.m. The call lasted 3 minutes." She pulled out a transcript. "We recovered Harold's phone. He had started recording the conversation because he was suspicious about something in the wine." "He recorded it?" "Harold was a smart man. He told Marcus he was feeling dizzy and nauseous after drinking the wine. Marcus told him to drink some water and rest. When Harold said he was going to call 911, Marcus told him not to overreact. Marcus knew Harold was dying and told him not to call for help. Gets worse. In the background of that recording, we can hear Jessica coaching Marcus on what to say. She told him to keep Harold calm until it's over." Detective Martinez played the audio. I heard Harold's weak voice saying he felt terrible, and my son's voice calmly telling him he was probably just tired. "We believe they wanted Harold to die quietly, so there wouldn't be an investigation. When Harold survived long enough for his neighbor to find him, their plan fell apart. What happens now? Marcus and Jessica are being charged with attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. The DA is also looking at elder abuse charges. Will Harold be okay? The doctors think so. He got treatment quickly enough. But Richard, there's something else you need to know. She opened another file. We found emails between Jessica and Marcus discussing your daily routine. They knew you walked to the mailbox every morning at 8 a.m. They knew you grocery shopped on Tuesdays. They had been watching you for months. Watching me? Planning the perfect time to strike. They wanted it to look accidental, but they also wanted to make sure you would be alone when it happened. I thought about all those times over the past few months when I'd felt like someone was watching me. The car that seemed to follow me to the store. The feeling of being observed when I worked in my garden. Detective, how long have they been planning to kill me? Based on the evidence, at least 8 months, maybe longer. 8 months of my son and daughter-in-law plotting my death while I invited them for Sunday dinners and bought Christmas presents for their children. There's one more thing, Detective Martinez said. We found a second bottle of wine in their garage. Same brand, same year, also poisoned. A second bottle? They had a backup plan. If the first attempt failed, they were going to try again. When? New Year's Eve. Jessica's calendar had a note. Dad's resolution party. Wine number 2. I sat back in my chair, overwhelmed by the calculated evil of it all. My own son was going to kill me twice. Richard, I know this is hard, but we need you to testify at their trial. Of course. One more question. Did you ever suspect anything? Any warning signs? I thought about it carefully. Marcus has been asking about my will a lot lately. And Jessica kept suggesting I should simplify my life and move to a retirement home. They were trying to isolate you. Detective, can I ask you something? Sure. In all your years doing this job, have you ever seen a case where children tried to murder their parent for money? Detective Martinez looked at me with sad eyes. More often than you'd think, Richard. Greed makes people do terrible things, even to family. That afternoon, I drove to the hospital to check on Harold. He was awake and talking. Richard, he said weakly, I'm so sorry. I should have called you immediately when I started feeling sick. Harold, you have nothing to apologize for. You saved my life by giving me that phone recording. Your own son, Richard. How do you get over something like that? I looked at this good man who had nearly died because of my family's greed. I don't know, Harold. I honestly don't know. 2 weeks later, the district attorney called me to his office. Richard, we're building a strong case, but I need to prepare you for what's coming. What do you mean? Marcus and Jessica hired David Coleman. He's the best defense attorney in the state, and he's going to try to destroy you on the witness stand. How? He'll claim you're a bitter old man who gave away the wine knowing it was poisoned. That you wanted Harold dead because he was getting closer to your family. I stared at him. That's insane. That's his job. Coleman will argue that you set up your own son because you resented sharing your inheritance with Jessica. But the evidence is solid, but juries can be unpredictable. Coleman is going to paint Marcus as a loving son who made a mistake, and Jessica as a victim of your manipulation. What about the forged insurance policy? He'll claim you knew about it and approved it secretly. Richard, this man will twist everything. The next day, I met with Harold at a coffee shop near the courthouse. He looked much better, though still weak. Richard, I got a visit from Jessica's lawyer yesterday. What did he want? He offered me money to change my testimony, said I could have remembered wrong about the phone call with Marcus. How much money? $50,000. I nearly choked on my coffee. They're trying to bribe you? Gets worse. When I said no, he threatened me, said I was an old man living alone and accidents happen. Harold, we need to tell the police. Already did. They're adding witness intimidation to the charges. That afternoon, Detective Martinez called with more news. Richard, we intercepted a letter Jessica wrote from jail to her sister. What did it say? I'm going to read you the exact quote. The old bastard ruined everything. If Marcus had just let Harold die quietly, we'd be collecting $2 million right now instead of rotting in jail. She's still not showing any remorse. It gets worse. She also wrote, don't let the kids visit Richard. I don't want them getting attached to someone who destroyed their family. My heart sank. Marcus and Jessica's twin boys were innocent victims in all this. Detective, what will happen to the children during the trial? They're staying with Jessica's sister in another state. The sister believes Jessica's version, that you framed them. So my grandchildren think I'm a monster. I'm sorry, Richard. Family cases like this destroy everyone. A week before the trial, I received an unexpected visitor, Marcus's court-appointed psychiatrist, Dr. Williams. Mr. Stevens, I've been evaluating your son for his defense. I wanted to speak with you. About what? Marcus is genuinely remorseful now. The reality of what he did is hitting him. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No. But I think you should know that Jessica manipulated him for years. She convinced him you didn't love him, that you were planning to leave everything to charity. That's not true. I know, but Marcus believed it. Jessica showed him forged documents, fake emails, created an entire narrative that you hated him. So this is all Jessica's fault? Not entirely. Marcus made his own choices. But Jessica is a sociopath, Richard. She feels nothing about nearly killing you or Harold. And Marcus? Marcus is broken. He keeps asking if there's any way you might forgive him someday. I thought about the little boy who used to build model airplanes with me, who called me his hero. Dr. Williams, what would you do if it was your son? I don't know. But I do know that Jessica destroyed more than one life with her greed. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Marcus in his jail cell, finally understanding what he had almost done. But understanding and forgiveness are different things. The trial was set to begin Monday morning. I had no idea that Jessica had one final card to play. On the morning of the trial, I arrived at the courthouse to find reporters and cameras everywhere. Mr. Stevens, Mr. Stevens, they shouted. Is it true you're accusing your own son of attempted murder? I pushed through the crowd without answering. Inside, District Attorney Phillips was waiting with a grim expression. Richard, we have a problem. Jessica's team leaked a story to the press. What kind of story? He handed me a newspaper. The headline read, Elderly man frames son and daughter-in-law for attempted murder. They're claiming you poisoned the wine yourself and gave it to Harold to frame Marcus and Jessica. That's insane. The article quotes anonymous sources saying you've been mentally unstable since your wife died and that you resented Marcus's marriage to Jessica. Can they print lies like this? They're not technically lies. They're presenting it as Jessica's version of events. And Richard, there's more. He showed me another document. Jessica's lawyer filed a motion claiming you have dementia and aren't competent to testify. I just passed a cognitive evaluation 2 weeks ago. They're requesting a new one from their own doctor. If the judge grants it, the trial could be delayed for months. We walked into the courtroom. Marcus sat at the defendant's table in an orange jumpsuit, looking thinner than I'd ever seen him. He glanced at me once, then quickly looked away. Jessica sat beside him, perfectly composed. She was dressed in a conservative navy suit, her hair pulled back. She looked like a grieving daughter-in-law, not someone who had tried to commit murder. The judge, Honorable Patricia Chen, called the court to order. Your Honor, Jessica's lawyer, David Coleman, stood up. Before we proceed, I need to address my client's mental state. Go ahead, counselor. My client, Jessica Stevens, is 6 weeks pregnant. The courtroom erupted in whispers. I felt my heart sink. She's been under extreme stress due to these false accusations, and we're concerned about the health of her unborn child. Your Honor, DA Phillips objected. This is clearly a manipulation tactic. Furthermore, Coleman continued, we have new evidence that the real perpetrator in this case is sitting in this courtroom. He pointed directly at me. Richard Stevens poisoned that wine bottle knowing his son would be blamed for it. He wanted to destroy Marcus's marriage and gain custody of his grandchildren. That's a lie. I stood up, unable to control myself. Order! Judge Chen banged her gavel. Mr. Stevens, please remain seated. Coleman smiled. Your Honor, you can see how volatile Mr. Stevens becomes when confronted with the truth. Counselor, do you have evidence to support these claims? We do. We've discovered that Mr. Stevens recently changed his will to exclude Marcus completely. We also have testimony that he's been telling neighbors that Jessica was no good for his son. Your Honor, DA Phillips stood up. None of this is true. We have evidence that, and most damning of all, Coleman interrupted, we have a witness who saw Mr. Stevens purchasing antifreeze at an AutoZone 3 blocks from his house 2 days before Christmas. The courtroom went silent. I felt the blood drain from my face. That's impossible, I whispered. Coleman pulled out a security camera photo. It was grainy, but it showed an elderly man who looked like me at the AutoZone register. Your Honor, this photo was taken on December 22nd at 3:47 p.m. Mr. Stevens purchased 1 container of antifreeze, paying cash. I've never been to that AutoZone in my life. Mr. Stevens, Coleman said smoothly, you're 72 years old. Memory problems are common at your age. DA Phillips was frantically shuffling through papers. Your Honor, we need time to verify this evidence. Time you don't have, Coleman replied. We also have a handwriting expert who will testify that the threatening note found in Harold Morrison's mailbox was written by Richard Stevens, not my client's. What threatening note? I asked. The one that said, keep your mouth shut or you'll get more than wine next time. I had never seen this note before in my life. Judge Chen looked troubled. Mr. Phillips, are you prepared to proceed? Your Honor, we request a recess to examine this new evidence. Motion granted. We'll reconvene tomorrow morning. As the courtroom emptied, I sat in stunned silence. Somehow, Jessica had managed to frame me for my own attempted murder. Harold approached me in the hallway. Richard, I don't believe a word of it. Harold, what if they convince the jury? Then we fight harder. But as I watched Jessica walk out of the courthouse, her hand protectively over her stomach, smiling at the reporters, I realized she might actually win. And if she did, I would go to prison for a crime she committed against me. Tomorrow would determine everything. The next morning, I walked into the courthouse expecting to be destroyed, but DA Phillips met me with a smile. Richard, we caught her. What do you mean? The AutoZone photo was fake. Our tech expert analyzed it. The timestamp was digitally altered, and the face was photoshopped. And the threatening note? Jessica's sister confessed. She wrote it and put it in Harold's mailbox yesterday morning. She's been helping Jessica fabricate evidence. In the courtroom, Phillips stood up with confidence. Your Honor, we have new evidence that proves the defendant Jessica Stevens has been manufacturing false evidence to frame the victim. Coleman jumped up. Objection. This is overruled. Present your evidence, Mr. Phillips. Phillips called his tech expert to the stand. Within 20 minutes, the fake photo was completely discredited. Then Harold testified about the recording of Marcus telling him not to call 911. But the moment that destroyed Jessica's case came when Phillips called Marcus to testify. Mr. Stevens, who planned the poisoning? Marcus looked at Jessica, then at me, tears streaming down his face. My wife did. Jessica planned everything. Objection, Coleman shouted. I'll allow it, Judge Chen said. Continue, Mr. Stevens. Jessica found out about my father's heart condition and saw an opportunity. She researched the poison, bought the antifreeze, and mixed it into the wine. And what was your role? I was supposed to make sure Dad drank it, but when he told us he gave it to Harold, Jessica panicked. Did you know Harold could die? Jessica said it didn't matter. She said we'd already come too far to stop. Jessica stood up screaming, He's lying. Marcus, tell them the truth. I am telling the truth, Marcus yelled back. You said Dad deserved to die because he was old anyway. You're pathetic, Jessica screamed. I should have done it myself. The courtroom erupted. Judge Chen banged her gavel repeatedly. That's enough. Bailiff, restrain the defendant. As they led Jessica away, she turned to me one last time. You should be dead, old man. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Jessica was found guilty on all charges: attempted murder, insurance fraud, conspiracy, and witness tampering. She was sentenced to 25 years to life. Marcus, who cooperated with the prosecution, received 12 years with possibility of parole in 8. After the trial, Marcus asked to speak with me privately. Dad, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. No, you don't. I was weak. I let her convince me that you didn't love me. Marcus, I loved you enough to raise you alone after your mother died. I loved you enough to pay for your college, your wedding, your house down payment. But love isn't enough when someone chooses greed over family. Will you ever be able to forgive me? I looked at my son, really looked at him. The boy who used to fall asleep in my lap was still there, buried under years of bad choices. Maybe someday, but not today. What about the boys? Will you let them visit you? I thought about my twin grandsons, now living with Jessica's sister who believed I was the villain. When they're 18, if they want to know the truth, I'll tell them. Until then, they're better off without this family's poison. 6 months later, I received a letter from Marcus in prison. He'd been attending therapy and wanted to make amends to Harold and the other families Jessica had hurt. Harold made a full recovery and visits me every Sunday for dinner. We don't talk about the trial anymore. I've learned to cook for 2 again. Last month, I received a drawing in the mail. It was from one of my grandsons, a picture of a grandfather and grandson fishing together with the words, I miss you, Grandpa, written in crayon. I hung it on my refrigerator next to a photo of my late wife. Some wounds heal. Others just teach you how to live with the scar. Jessica will spend the next 25 years in prison, and her unborn child will grow up knowing their mother tried to murder an elderly man for money. Marcus lost everything: his freedom, his children, his father's trust. I lost a son but kept my life. Sometimes that has to be enough. My name is Richard Stevens, and this is what happens when Christmas wine becomes a weapon. Comment below. Would you have forgiven your son or protected yourself like I did? Remember, family isn't just blood. It's the people who would never try to poison you.